Good day, viewers. Welcome to a new edition of 30 Minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television with me, Manir Dan Ali. Our guest today is Alhaji Shehu Malufashi, a retired director in the Federal Civil Service who has worked with presidents as someone working in the protocol department and in other ministries of the Federation. He's also been an active farmer even while in service, something which he has continued long after he retired. Alhaji Shehu Malufashi, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Alhaji Manir. I'm glad to be here.
What exactly are you involved in the agric value chain at the moment?
At the moment, we're involved in different facets of agriculture. You know, while the farm here, we are predominantly a poultry production unit and horticulture and fishery. In Malufashi, we are able to do those three and also add arable crops of maize, soybeans, and guinea corn.
Do you process the crops that you produce, or you just sell them up raw in the market?
Yes, we have a backward integration plan of which we are going to use our own maize, the soybeans, and also co-opt outgrowers who will help to improve their production. And then we are going to be doing feed mill to produce poultry feed and fishery. We have bought the machinery. We have a machine that can produce 15 tons per hour of poultry feed. We also have another machine we have brought which is going to produce 5 tons per hour of fish feed. So we have a backward integration scheme in the farm that all the other things that are there are going to contribute. The other thing I have not told you is that in Malufashi we have 4 high-yielding boreholes, 2 of which produce 5,000 liters per second. And we are capable of irrigating about 15 to 20 hectares of vegetable, which will sell for human consumption, and those that are not good enough to be processed into the animal feed to have the trace mineral, vitamins, and other things. So this is what we are doing.
I believe in your life as a farmer, you've seen so many government schemes, from the Operation Feed the Nation of the military president Obasanjo to the Green Revolution of Shehu Shagari and so many other schemes since then. Have these schemes managed to change much in the way we do agriculture? Because we still see people do back-breaking labor.
Yes. You see, honestly, when the military government was doing Operation Feed the Nation, I was in the university. But I have witnessed what the Shagari administration was able to achieve. I will give you a simple example. In my hometown, in our district of Malufashi then, you can count brand new tractors of up to 200 to 300 units scattered around. There are people who have 1, 2, 3, up to 4.
Of tractors. That is up to
brand
300 brand new tractors, yes, within a local government area.
Yeah, it was even not a local government then, it was just a district, but then of course we were from Chua local government. Now,
and what's the situation now? Are all those tractors up and running, or are they all turned into scrap?
You see, if you look at the records, you see that most of the governments that have come and passed of recent have bought a number of tractors according to record. But today in Malufashi, you can hardly get 20 tractors that are actually doing farm work. Because the ones I have, people keep on coming to disturb me, especially people who have opened new fields where they need to be plowed, and before the land preparation could be done efficiently. But we cannot because the tractors are just not there.
What's happening to all the tractors that succeeding administration keep buying? Because almost every administration at the state and even the federal government level are talking of buying new tractors. Some are buying refurbished ones, the Massey Fergusons, the Steyrs, and what have you. Yes. What's happening to all those, or are they only existing on paper?
You see, even where they exist in reality, what happens is that they are not giving to actual farmers. They are giving to politicians who, at a moment notice, will sell them. I had a former governor of our state who complained to me that most of the tractors he distributed have been sold to Kano State. So they are not giving it to farmers. They are giving it based on political consideration, and those people are not farming. So they will just go and sell it off, even sometimes below the price they were given, because some of them believe they may not pay for it. So even if it is a reality, most of them are in paper, but in reality, they are not given to farmers. So they don't know their value, and they just fling them off and sell them to dealers who now go and sell them in making profit, or sell it to other farmers.
And agricultural mechanization, as represented by the tractor, is just one tip of the whole farming activity. There is also the issue of the right seeds. Is that a problem, or has it been solved now from your experience?
Well, you see, tractor, certainly, is just one small section of the total farming package requirement. Because you can see that people in the parts of the world, even here in Africa, you go to Rwanda, Uganda, South Africa, you see remote control vehicles now being used. You don't need to put a driver. They use helicopters to spray chemicals and fertilizer. Now they use drones, just sit down and control it from the ground, and it does the work. The tractors you have now are the still old model tractors. Their fuel consumption is high, the cost of the diesel is high, and the seeds that are packaged, most of them are not improved seeds. It is even better for you to sit down and do a selective this thing from your own harvest. If it
that is the old way that farmers have always relied on.
You look at the big cob of maize,
the best of their produce, and keep a seed.
Exactly. You are better off than collecting any seed from the government saying that it is an improved seed.
But why is it so? Because you even have a seed council, you have this agricultural research institutes that are supposed to be helping to produce better seeds. You have so many companies that are into seeds production, improved seeds production, and then you are saying that many of these are not up to scratch.
Yeah. You see, there are companies in the business of seeds, like Pioneer Seeds and so on, and some well-established farmers who can afford the seeds they have. But in general terms, if you go to Shika, that is National Seed Center of Nigeria as a whole, not only anything that has seed which we use in agriculture, including grasses, legumes, and so on, you will find them there. But when you go, the institutions are terribly underfunded.
And more like decayed, they can't do much.
They cannot do much.
They are just surviving day to day.
Yes, and while they do much, are able to come up with something, they find it difficult to push it into the market. I was in Nibusa, Institute of Freshwater
Research, yes.
We were discussing with one of the lecturers, a professor, who was telling me that most of the researches they have used have not been utilized. That countries like India and so on have collected a lot of information from here and have now turned them into multi-billion-dollar businesses.
Which they will come and sell to us.
To us, and sell to the rest of the world. So,
but where is the disconnect? Why is it that we have all these research institutes, and as this lecturer is telling you, they are doing their bit, they are doing the research, and then there is no connection to industry, to the farm, and where you have even improved seeds, like I found out recently, they are like 5 times the cost of other grains.
You see, I was in the mechanical department of agriculture of ABU. If you see the simple tools which they have fabricated there that can ease the smallholder farmer work, there are so many. But the people working there were just lamenting.
Because they cannot mass produce them.
They are not even supposed to mass produce. They are supposed to be patented and now given to some companies. Government should encourage some companies and these things to do. That's what China, India do. And then those small machines they do, they bring them here now, we buy. Why we have a better, cheaper local options. You go today, you will see at the mechanical department of agriculture. You go to New Busa, you will see. You go to Lagos, instead of oceanography about their fishery, it's there. These people have any knowledge and information that is required to improve agriculture in Nigeria is available here for the last 20 years. The only thing is that there will be fanfare to receive the report and these things and so on, and then nothing will happen.
And then even fertilizer, because of recent, you find that Nigeria is producing more urea than it needs, is exporting it. Yet, when it comes to the compounded fertilizer, the so-called NPK, it has to import certain things from Morocco and other places, which some people say are even available locally if we are serious about mining it.
Yes, you see, the urea we produce, you know that it is, of course, it is in excess of what we require, but the motivation for exportation of this thing is because they earn more money
foreign currency
from foreign currency than giving it to the blenders here, Kaduna, Phosphate, Fertilizer, the Port Harcourt one, and so on. The other ingredients that are potassium, calcium, and these things that you produce, the NPK and the nitrate, they are all available. But there is nothing wrong in promoting inter-African trade, where we go to Morocco, for instance, and get potassium, and we have the nitrate here in form of the nitrogen fertilizer to give them, and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is that one has to be really serious in what you are doing, because we were getting a lot of money from export of oil, and then we can go and buy rice from Thailand, maize from Brazil, soybeans from America, wheat from America, and then bring it. And then our people will just be there. You see the youth in the villages
unemployed because the farming activity they could have been involved is they are not.
So developing agriculture and improving security should go hand in hand. Otherwise, it's old story. You can't. You can, as much as you can use kinetic power, they call it, to do this. There is a limit where you have to stop and also look at the people. And it's even cheaper. It's cheaper. You don't kill anybody. You just rehabilitate people, and then you produce food. There was a project in Kogi State. At that time, they were under Kwara, Ayangba, near Ajakuta.
Yeah, where the university.
That rice project, which was done, I believe, by either government started it, or Obasanjo regime finished, was to feed the whole West Africa with rice, just that area. It worked when the British technical partners were there for 3-4 years, it worked.
And after that,
everything collapsed, and the machineries were sold, auctioned out, and so on and so forth.
Very interesting point you are making, which we'll explore further when we come back from the mid-break. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, it is 30 Minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television, and our guest today is Alhaji Shehu Malufashi. Before we went on break discussing about the state of farming, agriculture, and what have you, you are mentioning this Ayamba project in Kogi State, which started well, and somehow it's disappeared. Even the machinery has been sold. And I know closer to where we are seated in Jere area of Kaduna, there is a big, nearly 3,000 hectares of irrigation, and it's barely 5 years old, but now it's more like scrapped because most of the center pivots, that is the big machines that are needed to do the irrigation, have been vandalized. What is it about us in Nigeria that we do not own things up? That is, communities actively look the other way or connive so that government projects are destroyed.
Yeah, you see, I think that one, we should start looking at the good governance itself. Because when you are watching television, hearing news from the radio, or reading on the newspaper or social media, you hear horrendous sums of corruption and so on. At that beginning, the local person will look at anything that belongs to government as just something to plunder. So to start to hire people to buy into the project, beside all the steps which are naturally required for you to make people buy into a project. If you want to come to use my land to do a certain project, you need, when you have conceived your ideas, to sit down with me and tell me what it all meant and how it is going to benefit me and benefit other people.
To get the buy-in of the local community. To get the buy-in.
Yes. Then the question of trust, that the person who is telling you, because the farmers have suffered so much, like in many other aspects of Nigerian life, of promises not being fulfilled or fulfilled halfway.
Yes.
The potentials of what they were told would be gained hardly ever materialize. So if you have that type of problem, you can never have people to buy into the program. That's why you see not only agricultural equipment, rails, these aluminum rails on the bridge,
manholes within cities have been stolen.
Even electricity, high tension line, which can kill somebody instantly, still they will find a way to this thing. So from the governance has to be really serious. And this, we just have to do that because that's okay. The Ukrainian war now, before the Ukrainian war, people who eat bread
didn't know that the wheat probably came from
Ukraine until this thing. And we have enough facilities to produce wheat for the whole West African sub-region.
But with all the accelerated wheat programs, they don't seem to have worked. The new Marte big irrigation site in Borno State, under the Lake Chad Research Institutes and what have you, they've all like maybe worked briefly and then they've all disappeared.
When they were tested with the technical partners, they worked. New Marte, I remember in 1982, 83, we visited that place about 3 times with President Shagari to launch one production session or another. In fact, at that time, they were even producing enough electricity to sell some to NEPA. And the wheat program was huge. And you remember also President Babangida did the wheat program,
yes, the accelerated,
in which most states of the northern states are involved, including, I think, Oyo State or Ondo State.
But the value chain didn't seem to have worked. Because
it didn't,
you see that farmers will be encouraged to grow certain crops, whether wheat or cassava, and then they are left with it.
That is the point. The wheat was produced by local farmers, and they were left with it. And they continue, and then somebody who owns golden penny flour will tell you that Nigerian wheat cannot be, that their machine cannot process Nigerian wheat. It can only process American wheat. And these things. So even if you have a machine that produces wheat and it uses American, this it's not the whole machine itself that you change. It's some filters and this and that you change, to, even if it is true, to now use Nigerian wheat.
So how do you think we'll manage to have, I mean, a new generation of agriculturists, farmers, and what have you? Because a lot of the farmers are older people dying out and what have you. And young men, they don't find farming sexy. They don't see it as interesting. They think it's boring. It's a lot of hard work, sweat, and very little benefit.
Yeah. You are right. You see, everything in a business entrepreneurship is dynamic. There is so much knowledge being brought into, just like all the other health, production, and so on. In agriculture, all the information being getting from ICT, from researches, from this thing, from AI, and all this, they are all, they have place in agriculture. In fact, they are being applied. A young man here in Nigeria who has a small smartphone can see that in Rwanda, somebody is using a small drone to monitor his cattle. Doesn't need to be carrying a stick and be following them all over the place, you know? And you can take them home and bring them back and do so many things. And now you give him a hoe, which you have not even trained him in the first instance to do. So what we need to do, another interesting thing I found, Alhaji Manir, was when they were saying that the young men are lazy, they don't want to do agriculture and so on. I decided to select about 10 young men. I made an announcement in some of the Friday mosque in our place. But so many, over 80 young men came.
Turned up, yes.
Turned up. I chose 10 and gave them 1 acre. An acre is 2.5 acres make a hectare, and a hectare is a football field. So which means I divide 1 hectare for 2.5 people.
Yes.
And those people produce, I said the easiest you can do with this is guinea corn. Less fertilizer, less work, and so on, and they did. From that time, some of them bought a sewing machine, started sewing, and this thing. We did the second year, all of them came up. Last time I did the land preparation, I gave them the seed, I gave them fertilizer. That second year, I said everybody should come with the seed, which they did. In fact, in the third year, I tell them everybody must pay 2,000 naira ground rent. One of them was even in Lagos doing Okada. His mother sent the 2,000 naira. So
you clearly established that it's not as if young people...
They don't want.
They don't want. Yeah. It's the opportunities that are not there.
We need to change the system to what other countries are doing to make agriculture attractive. And you know, when we talk about agriculture, we only talk about the farm production. There are
so many other things in the value
of agriculture in the value chain.
And do you think this current new government has taken the baby steps in the right direction? Because it's talking about, like, it's going to give fertilizer when we know that government policy has been, it's taken his hand out of fertilizer. It's talking about distributing grains from silos when we know that a lot of those silos are empty. So is the government taking the right steps in its early days?
You see, when you are going to do a public policy, there's definitely need for in-depth collection of information and analysis before you now come and say, this is what you want to do or this thing. If you say you want to give out grains to people which are stored in the silos, and many people know that there's no grain in the silos, then it's not a correct approach. And also, the restriction of inflow, no country really developed its market of whether agricultural produce or manufactured goods without some of restriction from inflow from outside the country. Sometimes you just have to make some sacrifices like we are being told to do with the oil subsidy. That is a bitter leaf, bitter pill, which we must take to get out of all the things that have been happening. It's the same thing with agriculture. Now, if you say you have opened the border for these things, then you have to also double the encouragement to the farmers. And it should not only be something that people hear on news, that this is done, and so on. A lot of people have asked, for instance, the last regime Anchor Borrower program.
Very controversial.
I have not yet find of all the conferences, meetings, and personal contact with farmers that has benefited from that program.
The Anchor Borrower program.
Yes.
So what will be your advice, very concisely in less than a minute, to this new government if it is serious about fixing agriculture and making Nigeria feed itself and possibly export?
The most important thing is that the personnel required to carry out this program must be people who know what agriculture is, and we have a lot of them. We have in all parts of Nigeria a lot of professors and technical people. That's number one. Number two, they must carry out census of actual farmers and what they do. Are you a crop producer? Are you a livestock producer? Are you a poultry producer? And these things. And each group, there is no random this thing. Most of the selection they make in organizing farmers' cooperatives is not done based on those people are doing agriculture, but like I told you earlier, based on politics. It must be brought down to agriculture and people who know what agriculture is.
Very important point you have made, and I suspect that is where we have to end this edition of 30 Minutes. Viewers, this is the end of this discussion. Keep a date with us for the next edition of 30 Minutes. Our guest has been Alhaji Shehu Malufashi, a veteran farmer and retired Federal Director.